Making a movie is no easy feat. Crafting a horror film can be even more daunting. That's exactly what happened with The Thing. Today, it's widely considered a horror classic, with a lasting impact as profound as the creature itself. But in the beginning, it was a roller coaster of challenges, frustrations, and doubts. Hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready, because the production of The Thing might just be more twisted than the film itself. The Thing cemented director John Carpenter's reputation as a horror genre master, but the chilling tale of this shape-shifting creature was first imagined by John W. Campbell, a science fiction editor and writer. In 1938, he published the short story Who Goes There? The story follows a 37-member expedition in Antarctica as they encounter a terrifying discovery, an alien spaceship and the body of its occupant, a being capable of mimicking anyone, sowing chaos and fear. That's why they call it The Thing. Who Goes There sent chills down readers' spines and caught the eye of Hollywood. More specifically, it grabbed the attention of Howard Hawks, who produced and essentially directed The Thing from Another World. The film features a smaller cast and takes place in the Arctic, but the biggest change is the appearance of the Thing itself. It's now a Frankenstein-esque creature. The Thing from Another World was a hit. More than just a monster movie, it was a masterclass in suspense, with characters constantly at odds. One of those impressed was John Carpenter, then a young man from Kentucky. He later said the film inspired him to become a filmmaker. Little did he know he'd one day make his own version. But it wasn't John Carpenter who championed the idea. Instead, it was Stuart Cohen, a producer at Universal's television division in the mid-70s. Looking to make the leap to the big screen, Cohen had a project in mind, a remake of Who Goes There? Things were looking up. They got the green light from Ned Tannen, head of Universal Pictures, and secured the rights to The Thing from Another World. To set it apart from the original, but still pay homage, they simply titled it The Thing. The toughest part was finding the right director. Cohen remembered his most talented classmate at University of Southern California, John Carpenter, who was really making a name for himself by 1976. Carpenter had already directed Dark Star, a 1974 sci-fi comedy with a goofy alien, and the gritty police thriller Assault on Precinct 13. Cohen wanted Carpenter to direct The Thing, but Universal wasn't having it. They thought he was still too green. The producer had to find someone else, and he went with Tobe Hooper, who had made the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Hooper didn't like Campbell's script, so he pitched a different idea, a story about a guy hunting a giant alien. Cohen and the team hated it, and Hooper was quickly fired. The producers tried John Landis next, but that didn't work out either. With so much uncertainty, The Thing ended up in development hell. That's when a movie is greenlit, but can't move forward due to various issues. But everything changed in 1979 with the release of Alien. This blend of horror and science fiction aimed at adults was a huge hit. The movie was about a group of people dealing with a terrifying alien in space, which was a similar concept to The Thing. This success convinced Universal to revisit the Thing project. This time, both Cohen and the studio were certain they would offer the directing job to Carpenter, who had already scored big with Halloween and The Fog. In both films, Carpenter explored themes of isolation and characters banding together against an overwhelming force. What's more, Halloween included a reference to The Thing from Another World. The characters watch it on TV, and it draws parallels to the plot of Halloween with a monster lurking in the shadows. Cohen reached out to Carpenter about The Thing. Carpenter's immediate response was a hard no. It wasn't because he held a grudge, he simply loved Howard Hawks' version too much to mess with it. The producer explained that they weren't looking to remake the film, but to do a more faithful adaptation of John W. Campbell's original story, Who Goes There? Carpenter was still hesitant. Cohen pushed him to read the story, and Carpenter reluctantly agreed, mostly to get his friend to stop bugging him. But after reading it, he was hooked. The idea of a shape-shifting alien and the paranoia among the characters really intrigued him. Seeing the potential in the story, Carpenter finally agreed to direct The Thing. With a $10 million budget, his largest ever, this would be Carpenter's first big-budget Hollywood film. He made it clear he wouldn't be writing the script. That job went to Bill Lancaster, son of Burt Lancaster, who had already made a name for himself with the comedy The Bad News Bears. To sell Carpenter and Universal on the project, Lancaster pitched a pivotal scene. McReady, the protagonist, ties up his crew to figure out who's the Thing. He then tests their blood with a hot poker. Carpenter loved the idea because it perfectly captured the heart of the story. As the script took shape, Carpenter knew the creature itself had to be top-notch. They allocated $200,000 for special makeup effects, a decent budget, but the script demanded a lot from the makeup department. They needed someone who could do a lot with a little. Carpenter turned to Bottin, who had worked on The Fog. The 21-year-old prodigy not only did the makeup on that film, but also played one of the vengeful ghosts. Bottin was thrilled with The Thing and was eager to collaborate with Carpenter on the creature design. Carpenter envisioned the creature having a distinct form when it wasn't mimicking other organisms, but Bottin had a different idea. He argued that the alien, having traveled the cosmos, could morph into anything. Carpenter was intrigued by this concept. To sell his vision, Bottin created detailed sketches of the alien, showcasing its grotesque features, including tentacles, gaping maws, and other slimy, hellish attributes. The sketches both horrified and fascinated everyone involved. Carpenter was able to reunite with many of his previous collaborators for The Thing, including cinematographer Dean Cundey and editor Todd Ramsey. Casting, however, proved to be more challenging. Universal suggested established actors like Jeff Bridges and Nick Nolte for the lead role of McReady, but Carpenter had his mind set on Kurt Russell. The two had a great working relationship, having previously collaborated on Elvis and Escape from New York. The studio agreed. The rest of the cast was filled with lesser-known actors, including Keith David as Childs. Each actor was given the opportunity to choose a role they connected with. Bottin wanted to play Palmer, the mechanic, but Carpenter suggested he focus on the special effects. To help the cast bond and understand their characters, Carpenter scheduled 2 weeks of rehearsals at a Universal studio. Jed, the Siberian husky who portrayed the Thing's initial form, was expertly handled by a trainer. With the cast and crew assembled, pre-production for The Thing was in full swing. Everyone was excited to be part of a project that could be a career changer. But once filming started, they hit a few problems. Bottin was a genius, but his work style was chaotic. The initial special effects budget of $200,000 quickly proved insufficient, forcing the studio to allocate an additional $550,000. Even that wasn't enough, and the budget was eventually increased to $1.5 million, a substantial sum for a film of that era. Costs also escalated due to other special effects, including snow and explosions. In the end, The Thing had a total budget of $15 million, making it a big-budget production for its time. While Carpenter was unfazed by the ballooning budget, some Universal executives, particularly Sidney Sheinberg, were growing increasingly concerned. Sheinberg, a powerful figure who had nurtured Steven Spielberg's career, took issue with the script's dark ending, suggesting it be made more upbeat. Carpenter, feeling secure in the support of most of the studio, remained calm. However, this disagreement with Sheinberg was just the beginning of a battle that was to come. The production of The Thing was split into 2 parts. For the outdoor scenes, the crew traveled to Juneau, Alaska, and Stewart, British Columbia. The art department had to construct the sets during the summer, before the winter snows arrived. Despite careful planning, the crew faced numerous challenges from the harsh Alaskan environment. Snow, overcast skies, freezing temperatures, and mountainous terrain made it difficult to capture the shots they needed. The grueling conditions, however, forged a strong bond among the crew, pushing them to work harder. While filming the outdoor scenes was grueling, the indoor sets presented their own unique challenges. Working on the Universal Studios sound stages, the crew had to contend with stifling heat. To create the illusion of a frigid environment, they had to use air conditioning units to simulate the bitter cold. Bottin, however, was the one who suffered the most during this phase of production. With the bulk of the creature's grotesque transformations yet to be filmed, he was meticulous in every detail. Bottin and Carpenter would often discuss how to present the creature's various forms for maximum impact. His dedication was unwavering. He worked around the clock, 7 days a week, and even slept at the studio. But the relentless pace eventually took its toll. After nearly a year of non-stop work, Bottin collapsed and was hospitalized with exhaustion, pneumonia, and a bleeding ulcer. After a period of rest and recovery, he returned to the set, but his absence had set him behind schedule. Needing additional help, he reached out to his peers. Stan Winston, a respected special effects artist, volunteered to oversee the iconic Dog Thing sequence, one of the film's most disturbing scenes. Once principal photography was complete, Carpenter focused on post-production, where he added a nod to Hawks's film with a similar title design and began work on the score. Carpenter, who often composed his own scores due to budgetary constraints, was now able to enlist the help of one of his idols, Ennio Morricone. The legendary composer, known for his iconic scores for films like those of Sergio Leone, Dario Argento, and Bernardo Bertolucci, was given a brief by Carpenter. Morricone returned with 4 electronic pieces, which Carpenter found to be effectively unsettling, conveying a sense of impending doom. However, Carpenter felt that the score also needed a more minimalist approach, similar to his work on Halloween in the Fog. He worked with his frequent collaborator, Alan Howarth, to create additional pieces that complemented Morricone's work. During the editing process, Carpenter cut scenes that slowed down the pace or felt overly talky. Most importantly, he had to decide on the film's ending. Remembering executive producer Sheinberg's suggestion for a more optimistic conclusion, Carpenter shot several alternate endings. One had McReady being rescued and cleared of any contamination, while another showed the pilot as the sole survivor. Unsatisfied with these options, Carpenter chose the ending he'd envisioned from the start. Childs emerges from the wreckage, and as he and McReady share a drink, their mutual distrust is palpable. Either of them could still be the shape-shifting alien. Carpenter's choice of ending for The Thing raised concerns among Universal executives, particularly Sheinberg. Calling Carpenter into his office, Sheinberg criticized the ending as being too ambiguous and dark, mockingly suggesting, "Imagine the audience reaction if we saw The Thing die to a grand orchestral score." However, Carpenter's previous work had earned him the studio's respect, and they ultimately agreed to his vision. Undeterred, Sheinberg continued to push for a different ending. While he was unsuccessful in altering the theatrical release, he found a way to get his revenge when overseeing the television cut. In this version, the film concludes with a dog running through the snow, mirroring the opening sequence, while a voiceover delivers an ominous warning. With post-production complete, The Thing was ready for release. Universal had high hopes for the film and launched a major marketing campaign. A key element of this campaign was the movie poster, and the task of designing it was given to industry legend Drew Struzan. The producer provided Struzan with only a brief overview of the film's plot. A week later, Struzan delivered his design, a figure shrouded in a blinding light against a frozen backdrop. Both Cohen and Carpenter were disappointed. The poster felt generic and more suited to a low-budget slasher film. Given that they had carefully avoided the cliché of a monster in a suit, this design felt like a step backward. Despite their objections, Universal had already given the poster the green light. The Thing was set to hit theaters on June 25, 1982. Despite the simultaneous release of another ambitious sci-fi film, Blade Runner, confidence in The Thing remained high. Typically, we hear stories of arduous productions that are rewarded with successful openings. However, The Thing's release was far from triumphant. Critical reception was overwhelmingly negative, with critics labeling the film as grotesque, gory, and devoid of value. Carpenter was even accused of creating violence porn. Universal, while initially confident, began to worry when the film failed to make a splash at the box office. The Thing was overshadowed not only by Blade Runner, but also by the immensely popular E.T. the Extraterrestrial, which had been released 2 weeks earlier. Audiences preferred Spielberg's heartwarming alien over Carpenter's murderous creature. Despite a $19 million gross, The Thing failed to recoup its marketing costs. As the financial implications of The Thing's failure became clear, Universal withdrew its support. The studio, which had also produced the blockbuster E.T. that same summer, viewed The Thing as a minor setback. Carpenter, however, faced far more dire consequences. The studio, which had been considering him for future projects, terminated their contract. Left to defend his film alone, Carpenter found himself in the most challenging period of his career. His first major studio film had been a critical and commercial failure, leading him to even make controversial remarks about Spielberg's E.T., which had overshadowed his own film at the box office. Carpenter's troubles didn't end with the film's completion. Prolonged exposure to the harsh sunlight while filming in snowy conditions led to a skin cancer diagnosis. As a result, he had to significantly limit his time in the sun. On the cast side, while Kurt Russell managed to preserve his career, the same couldn't be said for most of his co-stars. The Thing appeared to have derailed the careers and taken a toll on the health of those involved. However, its fortunes began to change with the advent of VHS. Home video format allowed the film to reach a wider audience, cultivating a dedicated fan base that appreciated Carpenter's direction, Bottin's groundbreaking special effects, the performances, the pervasive sense of paranoia, and the ambiguous ending. Even the most ardent fans of the original film acknowledged that Carpenter's version was a worthy successor, without diminishing their affection for Hawks's classic. The Thing has had a lasting impact on generations of filmmakers, influencing directors like Robert Rodriguez, James Gunn, Andy Muschietti, and Quentin Tarantino. Tarantino, in particular, was so inspired by the film that he salvaged unused tracks from Ennio Morricone's original score and incorporated them into his 2015 film, The Hateful Eight. This led to Morricone's long-overdue Oscar win. Additionally, The Thing spawned a video game sequel and a 2011 prequel film that delved into the events that occurred at the Norwegian camp prior to the main story. Despite facing initial setbacks and health challenges, Carpenter persevered. His career continued to evolve, marked by a series of personal and thought-provoking films. While he experienced the typical ups and downs of Hollywood, he ultimately found his niche both within the industry and among fans. Notably, he directed the heartwarming alien film Starman, which offered a stark contrast to the horror of The Thing. Bottin continued to make significant contributions to the industry, creating iconic creatures for films like RoboCop and Seven. He also established his own studio. However, as digital effects became more prevalent, opportunities in traditional creature effects dwindled, leading Bottin to step away from the industry. The success of The Thing also vindicated Struzan, whose initially controversial poster became synonymous with the film. In a surprising revelation, the artist disclosed that he had completed the entire artwork in just 24 hours. The film's ending remains a source of endless debate. Is McReady the Thing, or is it Childs? Perhaps neither. Carpenter has admitted to knowing the answer, but has vowed to keep it a secret. Originating from a 1930s short story, The Thing evolved into a 1950s film before reaching its iconic form in the 1980s Carpenter adaptation. The film required the talents of a visionary director and a highly skilled crew. Despite initial mixed reception and some unfair criticism of those involved, The Thing has solidified its status as a horror classic and a cinematic masterpiece. Its enduring legacy lies in its ability to instill a deep-seated distrust in others, in animals, and even in ourselves. When it comes to cult films, it's common to hear film critics and audiences agree that some of these movies couldn't be made today. But Heathers not only exemplifies this sad reality, it goes even further.